Welcome back to the Mark Moses Show, only right here on Sports Radio 95.9 The Fan. Right now here on the Club 52 hotline, a good man from the state of Georgia, and he covers the Bulldogs in the SEC East for DawgPost.com. His name is Dean Legge. We're going to talk some Georgia football and preview the big game against Florida set for this weekend in Jacksonville. Mr. Dean Legge, how you doing today, man?
Good. What's going on?
Hey, I'm doing just fine. What about you? We now know the news that Gurley's out for a while, won't be back until the 15th. What has this story been like for you these past couple of weeks where you weren't sure what the future was going to be for Todd Gurley?
Well, there's been a lot of confusion, guessing. There's been a lot of lack of understanding of what people are saying, a lot of parsing of words. And it's one of those stories that seems to continuously have legs, even though it seems like it's going to die at any moment. It's been relatively challenging as a reporter to deal with it. It hasn't been impossible, but it's not been the easiest thing on earth. I think the big thing is that there's been a lot of assumptions made by not just fans, but those in the media reporting on the story, and that's led to some confusion for sure out there. So today, the NCAA alleged that Todd took $3,000. I haven't seen Georgia acknowledge that is true, so that's why they're still in the appeal stage. There's a small chance, an outside chance, that he could play against the Gators on Saturday, but I don't see how that's going to happen.
You know what's funny is I also cover Florida State, and it feels like there's an allegation every 20 minutes. And I've just been like, whatever. But this actually got a suspension, and this guy's not going to play football. So are fans, are they angry? Are they devastated? Or are they just like, well, we got Chubbs now, we're good to go? I mean, what's the take of the Georgia fan?
Well, I don't think Georgia is interested in being in a comparison with Florida State in any way. Florida State's not looking too great right about now, in a lot of different ways. But, Georgia, I think, takes things slightly more seriously than Florida State has. And it seems to me, although this hasn't been confirmed by anybody, it seems to me like Todd basically has said, hey, this is what's true, this is what's not true. And Georgia's kind of come and gone with it and been trying to get it past them. Florida State's going to have a black cloud over them the entire season because of not just Winston, but now with the running back. And, Georgia's situation has nothing to do with the legal system, whereas at Florida State, it seems like a lot of what's going on down there is either, legal or, what you said is true. It's every week something seems to come out new about Florida State and what's going on wrong. At Georgia, this has been a Todd Gurley story from the get-go. And, Todd hasn't physically hurt anyone, which has been alleged at Florida State with 2 starters. So I just think that there is some frustration there's a pretty obvious frustration amongst the Georgia faithful about, why are we getting in trouble and nobody else does? But, I don't know the answer to that necessarily, but I think comparing Georgia and Florida State is like night and day.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I agree with you. We're here with Dean Legge. Dawg Post is the website. You can follow this guy on Twitter. It's a must if you like SEC football at Dawg_Post. Well, I brought up Chubbs, the running back there. How's he done? I know people are like, well, he's not Todd Gurley, but he's been pretty good, right, as the starter now for Georgia.
Yeah, Nick Chubb has really played well over this 2-game stretch without Todd in there. And Mark Rick said the other day, I guess yesterday, if you would have asked me how would Nick do as our one, I would have said I thought he did pretty well. I saw Nick a little bit in high school. It's always difficult to some degree to project how guys will go and play in the SEC, but Nick always looks the part. The other curious thing is, Georgia is down to they're down to 1 running back. It's a very good one. But, they're still waiting on Keith Marshall to get back. Stoney Michel from down there in South Florida could be back against the Gators. We don't know that one yet. But at some stage, they'll have all these guys back. But Nick has really had to shoulder the burden this entire time. And it is asking a lot. And, if something happens to Nick, Georgia becomes a different team. But right now, the offensive line has played really well, and Nick has run well. I mean, Nick is a special running back too, and Todd is the best. To me, Todd is the best player in the country. There's only a couple guys in that stratosphere. You got Winston at Florida State, Todd at Georgia, Mariota. I mean, those three guys are obviously better than everybody else. But, with Nick out, Chubb has not been that bad, not bad at all. I mean, what he did at Missouri was nothing short of amazing, giving the ball 38 times. So I think Georgia would like to figure out how to score without it being Nick Chubb the entire way down the field. They did that against Arkansas, throwing it at the beginning of the game. But, they can't get away with that forever.
We're here at Dean Legge, Dawg Post. What about Hudson Mason taking over for Aaron Murray? What are your thoughts on how he's played so far here in the season, especially of late when you said you lose a guy like Todd Gurley?
He's gotten better lately. There was definitely a stretch at the middle part of the season. Well, I guess the early middle part of the season against Tennessee and Vanderbilt where, Hudson just looked bad. And I don't know what it was. He was playing with very little confidence, so that was certainly one issue. But, he's played better. He's taking care of the ball better. There was a time when, he had turned it over twice against Tennessee. You just can't do that. It doesn't matter who you're playing, particularly when you're playing a team that's with a name brand like Tennessee. They're going to take advantage of those things. So I just, Hudson's played better. He's not Aaron. I think we all know that. I think we've known that. But fans don't care. They want their team to perform at the highest level possible. It doesn't matter who's out there in silver britches. So they have expectations sometimes that exceed what the kid can actually do. But I do think that Hudson has played better. He's not going to be the reason they win against the Gators if they do, but he could be the reason they lose. So that's the whole point. I think Hudson has to play well in order for Georgia to win.
Well, you talk about that game against the Gators. What about the defense for Georgia? There's been a lot of lopsided wins over the past couple of weeks. What are your thoughts, especially with the new defensive coordinator? What's your take on this Georgia defense of late?
They turned it on a little bit more. They turned it on a little quicker than Hudson did, but they both have come on at the same time and have really played well. That Georgia defense, outside of the 12-minute period between the third and fourth quarter of the Arkansas game, the game was already a blowout, they really have played really, really well since South Carolina. And, they switched up some philosophies defensively, and they switched up some players, and it made a huge difference. And, Clemson was a very good defense that Georgia dealt with. I think Florida's a pretty good defense. But Georgia has really, really played well defensively, and, they're getting support from their offense, whereas the Gators' offense has really not done much for Florida this season. That's the problem with Florida defense is they've just been exhausted, it seems like. And so, with Georgia, their offense is a lot of times on the field for a little bit of time because of the run nature of their offensive style play. And so the defense gets out there. They've been forcing turnovers. They've been scoring touchdowns. They really have played well at Georgia's defense. And, Todd won't be back, it doesn't look like, until Auburn. But Georgia seems very confident they can win without him, and the defense is unquestionably one of the reasons why.
We're here at Dean Legge, Dawg Post, and follow him on Twitter at Dawg_Post. What's your take on the Gators, man? It's the biggest rivalry game here in the South, Florida versus Georgia. What's your take? We know what we think of the Gators, but I got to get your take with all the craziness that's been going on with this team this year.
Well, I think a lot of Georgia people find it hard to believe that Florida is as bad as they really are, and then they watch them play, and it's like, you know what, they really are kind of bad. But for 24 years or whatever it was, not these last few years, but the bulk of the 20 years before that, Georgia just got their head beaten in by Florida. So they kind of are putting them on a pedestal that, they think the Gators are better than what they've shown. And I think there's a case to be made for that. But, Driscoll's been a turnover machine, and that's just been bad. Besides DeMarcus Robinson, it's been slim pickings offensively. they escaped the Kentucky game. I don't know how they won that game. They figured out how to beat Tennessee. A lot of that had to do with the fact that Tennessee is just a disaster. So, and yet they played LSU really, really hard. So it is hard to know what you're really going to get with Florida here lately, but they don't have what they had in the past. I mean, Tim Tebow has long since gone, and it's not just him. I mean, before Tim was there, they had guys that could play on the outside. They had running backs that would scare you. I mean, the issue with Florida is not the offense, is not the defense, the offense, and it is stunning to, just as an outside observer, see how limited the Gators have been offensively these last. Even that last year, Urban was there. They were pretty bad offensively. So it's a stunning reversal of fortune down there, going on its fifth year. I mean, 10, 11, 12, 13, and now this year, they've just had a hard time scoring. The biggest reason to me is they don't have a quarterback they can really depend on. I know they think that Harris eventually can get the job done, and I don't doubt that, but eventually it's probably not this week.
Dean, here's the thing, and we've been talking about this for a while. I'd love to get your thoughts because that was a great answer right there. Let's say Muschamp's let go. Who's even available? Because they want to make a splash and get a guy like a Jimbo Fisher or, someone like Notre Dame has with Brian Kelly. Is there anyone even out there right now that's at that level who could take over a program like this?
I'm sure. I mean, we're talking about the University of Florida here. I mean, it's not exactly South Carolina. They are a premier institution, not just in the South, but just period in the country. So, there are going to be people interested in that Florida job, no matter if it comes available, which I think we all suspect that it will. It always seems really bad, but there are programs like Georgia, Florida, Auburn, Alabama, LSU. Those programs, it doesn't take long to turn them around. Usually 2 years at the most, 2.5 years. So I think that if they cut Will out of there, which it seems like is going to happen, that, whoever comes in there next is going to have a pretty tremendous opportunity. But the reality is, for a long time, Florida had a great reputation in the 90s because of what Spurrier did. And then in the 2000s, it did seem better than it was. I mean, they won 2 national championships. Nobody's going to take that away from them, no question. But the rest of the 2000s wasn't exactly great for them. I mean, you look at 2, 3, 4, 5. Those were not 10-win seasons. 7, that was not a 10-win season for them. I mean, they had many times where they lost 4 games or more, and it is not an easy job, but it is one of the premier jobs in the country. And now, I mean, you can't tell me that the University of Michigan football job is better than Florida. Florida's probably, at worst, a top 6 school. I mean, SC, Texas, Bama. I mean, and probably Florida. I mean, there's not many schools better than Florida, if any, as far as, But, the reality is, as long as Florida State is good, or if the Canes are good, it makes it tough for the Gators, and vice versa. I mean, when Florida was good, Florida State was in the dumpster. So that's what seems to have happened down there, is that Miami cannot get it together. Florida's had a hard 5 years, and the Noles have come up as a result. The Gators were before the Noles, and before the Gators it was the Canes, and before the Canes it was the Gators, and before that, it seems like those 3 can't all be good at the same time.
No.
It's been a long time since that's the case, and a lot of that has to do with how bad Miami's been, but there was a time when Florida was bad. There was a time when the Noles were bad, but everything comes back. Florida won't be bad forever. Believe me, I've seen this thing for a long time. Are they going to be winning 2 out of 3 national championships? Probably not, but hey, it was a special time in the kingdom at that time.
Great stuff. Great answer. His name is Dean Legge, Dawg Post. And real quick, what's the best tailgate food you're going to be having this weekend at the game, man? I got to know. It's not all about football. What's the best food?
I think the best tailgating food, if you can get it, is brisket. But I don't, that's kind of a complicated thing to make. Anything you can get. In Jacksonville, that game's not like anything else. There's so much around and the surrounding there that you can get whatever you want. It's not like a game, like a traditional game on a campus. But, I think a lot of Georgia fans, they don't really eat as much as they drink for that game.
Oh.
So that's where they're getting most of their calories.
Great stuff. Dean, I appreciate your time. Very nice to get you on, and let's get you on again sometime, okay?
That sounds good.